Hello everyone, this is Charles Jim Amon. In today's tutorial, we're going to learn how we can enable SSH and Telnet in our Cisco devices. In this tutorial, we're going to use Cisco Packet Tracer. For us to enable SSH and Telnet, we need to have several things configured before we start configuring the actual things. For example, when you want to configure SSH, you cannot do that configuration without enabling the host name and IP domain name. So we're having this list of items of which both SSH and Telnet will be accepted when you want to configure them in your devices. So we're going to enable the host name, IP domain name, username and password or secret, enable password or secret, line console and line VTY. Then we're going to test logging into these devices with Telnet and SSH. So we're going to enable Telnet in this device and we're going to enable SSH in this device. And now let's take a look in our topology. As you can see, this is a local area network. So let's have a look in our IP configuration. First, let's check in our device, this computer, if it's having an IP address. If you can go there and see in the IP configuration, you can see that this is having the .10 IP, which is the 10th IP address in the network, and we have said that this switch is having a .2 and this cloud is having a .1. Let's just verify in all the devices to see if they are having IP addresses. Enable show IP interface brief. Yeah, you can see that it's having an IP address which has been configured on the VRAN 1. Let's run the show LAN to see if there's anything else configured in our device. Yeah, as you can see, nothing else has been configured than this IP address on the VRAN 1 interface. So let's take a look again in our router. Yeah, as you can see, even our router, only the IP address has been assigned on the interface for Ethernet 0/0. So let's just verify if the computer is able to ping both devices, the switch and the router. So let's run the ping command 172.16.1.1, which is our router. Yeah, you can see that the router is responding from our request. So let's now try to ping again the switch if we can get there. Yes, and the switch is even responding to our request. That means the IP configuration has been done, but now the Telnet and the SSH cannot run. If you can try to Telnet 172.16.1.2, you see that the connection to the switch has been crossed by a foreign host. So that means it's even rejecting that request because there's no Telnet configured in the switch. So let's now get into our switch and start configuring Telnet, because we're saying that this will be using Telnet and the router will be using SSH. So let's get into the switch and start our configuration. If you can go into the global configuration mode, which is configure terminal, and start configuring the line console 0, and say password Cisco line VTY or 0 to 15, password Cisco, and let's specify that we need to log into the line VTYs using Telnet. So we need to put the transport input, and we need to verify to put one thing in here. Even if we need to put all of them, we can put all. That means we'll be enabling SSH and Telnet. But now for that, we want to use Telnet in this device, so we can select Telnet, then we hit enter. If we can say exit and give it an enable password in this device, as we have already said. So firstly, we will not put the host name, we will not put the domain name, but we're going to put an enable password or secret, and we've configured the line console and VTY. So let's give it an enable secret. So say enable password, let's use password, and give it Cisco, then exit. We have done that, and let's try to use the command that we just did last time when we were trying to Telnet in that device. Telnet, you can see user access verification. It needs a password. So if you say Cisco, you see that we are able to get into the switch, and when we say enable, we request it is requesting us to put the password which we configured, and let's put Cisco. You can see we are able to get into the switch. So when you're enabling Telnet, this the host name, the domain name, username and password or secret are not allowed. You can only just put the enable password and configure the line VTY in your device. That will allow you to have a Telnet enabled in your device. But when you want to enable SSH in each device, you will need to follow all these configurations as listed here. So let's go to the router and start configuring it with SSH that we have been asked to do. Okay, so this is the router, and let's start our configuration. But first, let's go into the global configuration mode. So we say configure terminal, and we're there. So we need to have a host name changed. If we can try to enable SSH without putting the host name, this will reject us to do that. For example, if we can say IPSSH and to put like the version 2, by learning that command is like you're enabling the version 2 of SSH, but firstly it is requesting you to put the RSA key in your configuration. So we say crypto keygen RSA. You see that we have done that, but it is requesting us to put a host name in our router. But even if we try to change the host name and say host name BTCS R1 and relearn the very same command, the crypto RSA, to say that please define a domain name first. On that point, let's create an IP domain name. So we say IP domain name btcs.mw. And what if we learn the very same command? Will it be possible? As you can see, after configuring a host name, domain name, we are now able to create the key for our SSH. So we are having this limit which is linked from 360 to 2048, and now we can just put 2048 in our configuration. That is the maximum that you can put for your keys. So let's create that, and as you can see, the key has been generated. This simply means we have now enabled SSH in our device. But there are also things on the list that we need to do. We need to use a username and a password, because SSH will require a username and password when you want to log into the device. And we also need to have enable password, because whenever we'll be going into the enable mode or the privilege mode, we need to have a password. We're also even supposed to have the line console and the VTY configured. So firstly, we have done the host name, the domain name, and now let's create a user and a password in the device. So we say username, say Charles, and let's give it a privilege 15, so that it should just be taking us to enable mode when we want to get into the device using the this account, the Charles account. And let's put a secret Cisco. Yeah, so we have enabled the username and the password, and now let's put the enable secret. Let's use the same one, Cisco, and let's configure our line VTY and line console. Line console, we will not give it a password, we just use it as to be logged in using the username and password. So we say login local, and after that let's give it a transport output to be configured. As you can see here, SSH is there, and we are going to select SSH. So we have enabled SSH there, and let's just learn some other important commands that are supposed to be done there, like logging synchronous and no exit timeout if you don't want it to be taking it out if you stay a bit longer without configuring anything. So say no exit timeout, and let's go again in the line VTY 0 to 15, and there let's tell it so that we can use it. We'll be using the login local as our username and password, and the transport input to be SSH. Yeah, so we have enabled SSH, and let's say no exit timeout, then exit, and from there let's go again and try Telnet. If you can say Telnet, the router, you see connection to 172.16.1.1 is closed because we did not enable Telnet. And now logging in SSH using packet tracer, we use this command because packet tracer don't have terminal programs which can be installed in these devices, but in the real world you need to have like Teletem, Party, you need to have like secure CRT and some other applications that can allow you to use SSH when you're logging into your devices. So in Cisco packet tracer, we say SSH minus or dash L, and we put a username which has been configured in the device, and we give it an IP address of the device that we want to log in. So this is the command: SSH space dash L space username space IP address of the device. So when you learn that command, you see that SSH has opened and it is requiring us a password. That means the username is Charles, and now we need to put a password which we said is Cisco. And now as you can see, the moment I've punched in Cisco, it is taking us to the level 15 privilege that we configured when we were creating the username. And now if you can say show LAN, you can see now this is the configuration that your router has been configured with. Can you now create another username without having a level 15 privilege so that you can see the difference between the levels? So let's say configure terminal, and let's create a username. Username for password Cisco, exit, and let's exit our device. And now let's learn again the very same command using logging into POS account. Okay, SSH space dash L space PO space 172.16.1.1. As you can see, we're logging into the POS account with our Cisco password that was enabled, and is now taking us to that level. That means we need to also have the enable password configured in our device. So when we say enable, it will need the password which we created for the enable mode. So that is how we enable SSH in Cisco devices. So we're having the list. Let's just make a preview. Firstly, we need to have the host name configured, IP domain name, username and password or secret, enable password or secret, line console, and VTY. Let's now enable SSH in this device so that we can have a revision on what is important to be done. So we say enable Cisco and config terminal host name BTCS switch 1, IP domain name btcs.mw, and username Charles, password or secret Cisco. Enable password Cisco. Line console 0. Login local. Login synchronous. Transport output, let's say all. Exit line VTY 0 to 15. Login local and transport input all. Exit IP SSH version 2. Crypto key generate RSA. Let's just put the 2048 as the maximum. Exit, do right. Oh, right. And let's run the right command here to save our configuration. Yeah, and now we have configured SSH in the switch again, just in basic steps as it is listed here. So let's try to exit the router, and now let's run SSH in the switch, which is the 2. Cisco, enable Cisco, show LAN. This is our switch now. We have seen how we configure SSH in Packet Tracer or in Cisco devices. Next tutorial I'm going to use a real switch, how you can enable SSH and on a real device. So be with me as I will be showing you how that is done and how you can connect using the Telnet or PADI on the very same topic. And I will also show you the advantages of using SSH in remote management than using Telnet. So you've been with me. I hope this has been very informative. Thank you for watching.